Okay, right now we're about a week after Pesach. Normally I have this year out already by Thursday morning. I'm a day behind schedule. So last week, Cholamoy, we talked about Sefiras HaOmer. A few of the halachas. There's so much more to talk about. But I thought now, this year, we'll talk about Hilchos Minhagei Yemei HaOmer. We'll talk some of the minhagim, a little bit what was nogea directly to tomorrow, which is Rosh Chodesh Erev Shabbos. Rosh Chodesh Erev Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh Iyar Erev Shabbos. And then get into a few more halachas. And then another inyan that's kosher to Sefiras HaOmer and Inyani HaOmer, a little bit in a Jewish for a few minutes, and then Emir Tashem, by next week we'll get back to the Parshas Hashavua, Achir Mois Kedoshim. Maybe before Lag BaOmer, we'll talk about Yoni Lag BaOmer, Akopanim and machshava a little bit, and because that's the Inyana D'Yomer, that's these Inyanim that are shaykh to these weeks. But definitely next week, I think we'll get back to Achir Mois Kedoshim. Okay. In Shulchan Aruch and Simon Tov Tzadik Gimel, it brings down the minhag nohegim shalolisa isha ben Pesach la'atzeres. The minhag is not to marry someone. A man should not marry a lady between Pesach la'atzeres ad lag ba'omer. And it brings the time. This is all from the Torah. This is all a dove from the Rishonim. It's not me ikr din of the Gemara. This nehigus of aveilus. It does say in the Gemara about the Misas Talmidei Rebbi Kiva, but these are the aveilus b'nei shabbos man mesu Talmidei Rebbi Kiva. Therefore, we're noheg not to be lisa isha, but avala ares or lakada shapardami, but do eris and kiddushin, yes. And this inyan of eris and kiddushin by us isn't no geya, because we don't separate kiddushin from the suyin. We do the kiddushin, and then miyad acharav we do the nisuyin at a chasan. First stages, kiddushin, give the tabas, harei mukadeshesli. That's what a man says to the lady. They have a kriyas ksuva to separate in between, and then they go ahead and go right to the nisuyin under the chuppah. That's the nisuyin, the cheder yichud, and we do the kiddushin and nisuyin together. So it's not really mitziuti. It's not so much lemaisa having the kiddushin, nerisin separate from the nisuyin, but there is what's called the tanoim, the shidduchim, tanoim that's referred to in the mishabur that we do have, and that's with engagement. In the Armakaimas, when they get engaged, that they write up the tanoim, and Armakaimas that they do the tanoim by the chuppah. But I'll call pamim but in this that we don't have, and then the machaber says in the next if nohegin shaloli staper, not to be mistaper with a haircut. What Am Yisrael does have many people who shave, not to shave ad lag ba'omer. So the machaber says to wait until lamed daled ba'boiker, unless yom lamed gimel the Erev Shabbos. And the Ramah says, "Umdinas elu einoigin kitvarav like the Machaber, ella mistaprim biyoim lamed gimel," and that's the minhagim of Lag BaOmer. But Lamaisa, we don't. The Machaber process we don't have nisuyin, and we aren't mistaper. In the Torah, it's brought down the minhag loy to make nisuyin, v'yesh she'ein noigin listaper. Meaning it was already niskabel b'zman Torah that everyone didn't have the nisuyin, and yesh, some had the minhag yes to be mistaper, some had the minhag not to mistaper. But the Bachler says, and that you see from the Machaber also, that it's kvar niskabel by everyone not to be mistaper. So already Parshas the Machaber doesn't bring it as a yesh, and the Bach speaks up a farish on the Torah that now it's miskabel the minhag like that we don't have. So those are the ikr two inyanim of nisuyin and listaper, isser yistaper, isser nisuyin. Says here the Mishabur from the Achronim. Says there are different minhagim when you start counting the Sefiras HaOmer. Some start from Rosh Chodesh Iyar, some start counting miyad until Lag BaOmer. So says the Mishabura, Va'av laha nohegim isur gam ad Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Meaning, even according to those who have the minhag to be noheg, the isur, suyin, istapus, ad Rosh Chodesh Iyar, become makom imchal Rosh Chodesh b'Shabbos. Kivin sheyesh kan tosefes simcha. If Rosh Chodesh is chal on Shabbos, being that there's what we call tosefes simcha, two things: Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, yesh lahato listaper be'erev Shabbos. There are those who are mato listaper be'erev Shabbos, b'nei Kavod Shabbos. V'gam lisa isha bo b'yom, even to make a chasan bo b'yom. Kivin sheikar suda yeh b'Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, since the ikar the suda will be on Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. So it's mutter listaper when it comes out on Rosh Chodesh on Shabbos, and it's mutter to go ahead and have the suyim because the suda is going to be on Beikar on Shabbos. And yet we see that the minhag in Am Yisrael, in the Doros Harishonim, Kadmoinim, that in Hilchos Shabbos we see the discussion of many times. They used to make the chasna Erev Shabbos, but not in the mornings Erev Shabbos. They would make chasnas on Erev Shabbos, Samach l'Shabbos, and then the Su'uda Shabbos was the Su'uda for the Chasna together. So that, the Mishabur brings down, also that's mutter. But that's not, like we said, that's not so shchiach to do, but that's also mutter to do. But what's mutter to do is also listaper. It's mutter to be mistaper on Erev Shabbos. So that will be come out tomorrow, meaning now I'm making the shiur, it's Thursday noontime. To be mutter to mistaper tomorrow. Now there are those who are mayor ahara. This is mihilchos, davening hilchos, minhagei HaOmer, the mixes minhagei aveilus that were noheg. How we noheg legabi this inyan, but the ma'isa, there's another noisa that's brought down, and that's a famous inyan that there are those who are mistaper ever on Rosh Chodesh, and that the Makora dvarmis from the Tzavos Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid, not to be mistaper, and not to be noitel tzipurnayim, not on Rosh Chodesh, because there's a Tzavos Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid. The Tzavos Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid was not to mistaper on Rosh Chodesh, and on Rosh Chodesh. And the Mishabur brings it down already in Hilchos Shabbos, I think in Siman Reish Samech, b'shem the Magen Avram, who brings it b'shem the Tzavos Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid. Now, over there in those halachas, how to learn about Magen Avram is interesting, but over here we're seeing that you can be mistaper on Erev Shabbos. Now, it doesn't happen on the calendar that Rosh Chodesh falls out on Shabbos without the first Rosh Chodesh falling on Erev Shabbos. So therefore, if the Mishabura here is saying you can go ahead and mistaper Erev Shabbos, he's saying that you can mistaper even when it's on Rosh Chodesh. So there are those, many are mayor. What about the Tzavos Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid? So some say, okay, the Mishabur is not discussing Tzavos Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid. We're discussing the halach of Hilchos Sefiras HaOmer, Hilchos Yemei Minhagei Sefiras HaOmer, the Minhagei aveilus that are noheg in the Yemei HaOmer. That's in Tov Tzadi Gimel in Orach Chaim. And the Gabi that halacha, you're allowed. But Emachanami, what he discusses in another place at Tzavos Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid, yeah, that would be a problem, and we wouldn't go ahead and be mad. You wouldn't allow it because of that. There are others who say no. We did not aser, and the minhag was not neskabel to be mocked with the Tzavos Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid when we would miss out legamre from being mechabed Shabbos to be mistaper, to be galeach, to shave. That we wouldn't go ahead and do. We'd only do it if Rosh Chodesh falls out on Erev Shabbos. So Rosh Chodesh falls on Erev Shabbos, so then we can mistaper on Yom Chamisha b'Shabbos. So it's more from the Gemara, it's still called Kavod Shabbos. The Ikar Kavod Shabbos is the Erev Shabbos, but it's also called Kavod Shabbos when you do it on Chamisha b'Shabbos. So if you can't do it Erev Shabbos, you can do Chamisha b'Shabbos. So that's fine. That's fine to do. So therefore, when did the Tzavos Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid apply? When you can still have some type of Kavod Shabbos by doing them on Yom Chamishi. But over here, Api the minhag, we will not be mistaper on Yom Chamishi because of the aveilus. We're only matter Erev Shabbos. So Erev Shabbos, not to have the Kavod Shabbos at all, we aren't noheg the Tavos Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid. And that's what Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky very famously in his Sefirah, Mr. Yaakov brought down. I heard it when I was a boch already, that Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky held, and he looks it into the Magen Avram, that if there would be 2 days Rosh Chodesh, Chamishi, Shishi, then you would be mistaper on your Erev Shabbos, because to push off Kavod Shabbos legamrei, mishun tzavos Rebbi HaChassid, azel lo noheg in lahakbi the Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid of not being mistaper. So therefore, if Rosh Chodesh comes out on Erev Shabbos only, then we do the mistaper normally on Chamishi b'Shabbos, on Thursday. But here that it comes out, if it would come out on Thursday, Friday, Rosh Chodesh, then in the Chanami, we would shave, we would cut our hair and shave on Erev Shabbos. That's the most Kavod Shabbos. And anyways, you have to do it on Rosh Chodesh, you do it Erev Shabbos. So who didn't can? You can't do it on Yom Chamishi because the aveilus. You can Chazal the Rishonim or the Achronim held in that the minhag that they're noheg wasn't makbid in a makom where you have both things Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos coming on Shabbos. So who didn't? I would do it on Erev Shabbos. I don't have the option to do it on Yom Chamishi. So that would be the same thing. Kach harbe poiskim or nokdu kain. I did see B'Shem Rebbe Yoshev and others who held the other svara. That the Mishabur here, they're from Achronim, they're not discussing the hakpada of the Tavos Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid. So they're not discussing the hakpada of Tavos Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid. Memela, we're not discussing it over here in these halachas, but many of Am Yisrael are makbid Rebbi Yehudah HaChassid. So therefore, who are din on this Erev Shabbos not to do it. But again, let's start Galo for sure you can do it. And then again, I said Rav Moshe, Rav Yankov, gosh, most of those from America were makel to go ahead and shave or cut the hair if it's necessary on this Erev Shabbos, which would be tomorrow, which would be the first day of Rosh Chodesh Iyar in this year. There is another noiseh, it's not nogeya this year, Legabe, and that is when Lag Ba'omer falls out on Yom Rishon. When Lag Ba'omer falls out on Yom Rishon, the Ramah brings down then on the next piece. He said like this: the ain listaper, and the minhag that we talked about, the isur listaper until lag ba'omer. The ain listaper ad lag ba'atzmoi v'loy meve'erev, which is a machloikis. The Mishabur brings down machloikis. Achronim had to learn up. Does it mean meve'erev means right before, meaning from like plaga mincha or from minhag tama of lamed beis, and lag ba'atzmo means from erev, meaning at night, but not meve'erev meaning likros the next day, but not yet the night. Or does it mean not at night, only in the day and the morning? 2 days in the Mishabur. The Mishabur seems to be more night to be makbid in lag ba'atzmo. That's what he says. V'yesh ma'achroimim, he brings down dahainu la'ach shetenatzachama, but then he says v'yesh ma'achroimim shemekin l'saprim v'erev. That l'ninin nesuyin, he brings down the lo reason mekin ki'im b'yoyim lag ba'omer ba'atzim v'loy b'layla l'shalafanav. But even in nesuyin nowadays, there are those who are makel to make the chasanas on leil lamed gimel. In Eretz Yisrael, it used to be they only made a chasana on Yom Lamed Gimel before Lamed Daled, then they continue the rest of the chasana on Lamed Daled. But they would make the chasana only on Lamed Gimel, but only during the day, not the night before. But those are makel even in that already. But I'll call upon him getting to this. But it says in the Ramah, Miu imchal b'yom rishon, if it comes out on your rishon, nohagim listaper b'yom vav l'kavod Shabbos. If it came out on Yom Rishon, nohagim listaper b'yom vav l'kavod Shabbos. That's what it says. Then it brings down the Ramah, the heter baal bris. We'll get to. So this nohagim listaper. Why? Because you're going to be anyways be mutter on Yom Rishon for lag ba'omer. So the way the Rebbi Yehudah explains this halacha, really discussing a halacha that's nogeya in hilchos what we call Tisha Sayamim, in the 9 days. But he explains it that this halacha is because we're mutter to shave on Yom Rishon. He says, ain't no bedin that we allow you to shave on Yom Rishon, and we're not going to allow you to also shave or cut your hair, listaper, on Erev Shabbos, Mishum Kavod Shabbos also. And there he explained it only because it's mutter at night. If it's mutter at night on Motzei Shabbos, ain't no bedin that we're going to be makel to shave Motzei Shabbos and not allow you already Erev Shabbos and Kavod Shabbos. He doesn't say, though, the Noheg in the Tshuva, that there's a bizorin to Shabbos by shaving on Motzei Shabbos. That we don't find the dogma was saying shaving Motzei Shabbos is a bizorin. And there is this concept, I've heard it many times, that we shouldn't shave or cut our hair Motzei Shabbos. If we didn't do it on Erev Shabbos, that's like a bizorin to Shabbos. You do it right after Shabbos, you didn't do Kavod Shabbos. That's not really what the Rebbi Yehudah himself says. Rebbi Yehudah says it's ain't no bedin, it's ain't no roy to have a halacha that you're allowed to do Motzei Shabbos and not allowed to do Erev Shabbos. But if you decided yourself not to do it Erev Shabbos, who said you can't do it to cut your hair or shave on Motzei Shabbos? That we don't find in the halacha. There is a mashmois from the Rosh Shlomo Kluger over here in when he explains these halachas and discussing another shaila in these halachas, that there's a bezoin of Shabbos to go ahead and misaper Motzei Shabbos and not Erev Shabbos. There is such a svara, but it could be the bezoin is to only be allowed to do it Motzei Shabbos and not to do it Erev Shabbos. But so based on the Yehuda, I've been asked other times if people can shave or cut their hair Motzei Shabbos. So anytime there's a tzarech, you can be matter, because we don't find this iser anywhere outright. Maybe from the Shlomo Kluger here in the Simon, which the Rebbi Yehudah himself explains it differently. He explains it as ain't no bedin, but he doesn't say the word that the bezorin to Shabbos to cut your hair Motzei Shabbos and not do it Erev Shabbos. That we don't see from him. Okay, so that's really the halachas that I wanted to talk about. That's nogeya the histapus on what would be Erev Shabbos because of things that are happening more than just the Erev Shabbos. That's for sure that the minhag in Am Yisrael is not to go ahead and cut our hair Erev Shabbos Mishum Kavod Shabbos. When I was in America, there was one yeshiva that was makel to shave the Kavod Shabbos, to cut the hair the Kavod Shabbos. But Rav Moshe, I saw in Common McCoy, Rav Moshe was very makri. He said all the kadmoinim, all the minhagim is Mishum Kavod Shabbos. We don't go ahead and shave or cut our hair. Agav, Rav Moshe, it was matter Mishum Tzarech Parnasasai. If it's a Tzarech Parnasa, to go ahead and shave, cut your hair, shave, if that's what's necessary. But I saw Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky Azon. What if you're going ahead and you're shaving with Tzarech Parnasa? Then came Friday, either you didn't go to work Friday, so for example, or by the time Shabbos came around, you already have what they call the 5 o'clock shadow, and you want to shave again the Shabbos. No, you're not allowed to go ahead and shave the Kavod Shabbos, even if you're matter l'tzarech parnasa. L'tzarech parnasa is a dechuya, but not because of that we're matter always to shave. We don't have a heter, a general heter. Oh, you can go ahead and shave all the time because it's because you became mutter to shave at tzarech parnasa, so therefore I'm going to be matter l'Kavod Shabbos. Now even then, you don't say, well, I did it for tzarech parnasa, I'm not going to do l'Kavod Shabbos. No, l'Kavod Shamayim, it is to misavo the Minhagei aveilus. And if you can't do it because the tzarech parnasa is going to be doiche, because the minhag wasn't said the makom the tzarech parnasa, but not mishum that mishum Kavod Shabbos, the minhag is yes to have the Minhagei aveilus. Okay, that's what I saw b'shem Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. There are machshava, now there is mutter, what we say listaper. The Ramah brings down umi shehu baal bris or mal benoi, who's what you call a baal bris or mal benoi, mutter listaper b'sefirah l'kavod amila. It's mutter listaper b'sefirah l'kavod amila. Who's called the baal bris? So we say with nifsek laloch is the mohel, the sandek, and like we said, the avi haben. Those three are balei bris. Agav in halacha, they don't talk about the aim of the ben, and used to be, and it's clear like that in halacha, the aim of ben didn't make it to the bris. Maybe because they didn't recover from the Leda so quickly, but they didn't make it to the bris. It's clear that was the meaning. But Am Yisrael now that definitely the mother always comes to the bris. We don't find. I haven't been by a bris where the mother was able to come and didn't come. She comes to the bris. but maybe she's also a bala simcha. Pashtus is the avia ben because Allah muto mitzvahs mila. It's on him that's muto the mitzvah mila. Now we say, oisoi v'lo oisoi. The mother doesn't have. Maybe she wouldn't be considered the bala sabris, but it's really the avia ben, the sandek, and the mohel. And when you want to talk about the grandfather does have a yachsin. That would be only the avi ha'ava ben. That is the famous truth of Rebbi Yehudah saying that the grandfather has more of a kedima to mitzvah mila over someone else. And Chazal says if the avi ben doesn't do it, then it's mutal abezim, which really, from Roy Vishayin, it's clearly nikah. It means mutal akol yisrael, to be doing that. It shouldn't be nimsa eitzlenu oral be yisrael. It's an achrayus for am yisrael to be doeg, but that would be only legabi that would be where the father's not there. But Rebbi Yehudah says that the father's not there. There's a kedima also to the avia. So if he's about simcha, it doesn't say beferish. The pashtus and poiskim is these three, not kvater, which even though he's mitzurav to it, and the other balei simcha pashtus aren't included. If a person, there's a nidun that the dogma Vava talks about in these halachas. If there's a person that has a what we call the ufruf, they use a different word in Yiddish in describing what the Shabbos before the chasan, the ufruf, meaning if a person's getting married, meaning either getting married Rosh Chodesh Iyar, he's getting married Lag BaOmer, the Shabbos before, and it's still Yemei Omer. Is he able to mistaper for the Shabbos? Because the Shabbos already he's mixes baal simcha. And it's a simcha that's muteris, and Rav Moshe is medag b'ferishim by b'Shabbos chazoin. You make a ufruf, and you're mesameach in the beis knesses. When you're mesameach, you make a kiddush. Moshe in the tshuva, in the last chelik of Archaim says it b'ferish. That's what happens. That Huadin Khan says over here the dogma Vava that the Maril seems to hold by the 9 days. If it comes out, it says the 9 days. If it comes out the ofruf, that you don't go ahead and you're not mistaper. But he says dogma that's only there. There it's harabehik pidu. There the chumrah of listaper is more machmer in the 9 days than it is during Tamid Rabbi Kiva. There meikar din the Gemara it's aser and shvushal chalboy. And it's more chomer, the dinim of Gimel Shavuos, the Shalosh Shavuos, the Ben HaMetzorim, than it is the what's noheg, the noisa of the stopper on the Yemei HaOmer. So Memele, he's mater for the chasan to go ahead and stopper for the Shabbos Ufruf. Also, there might be a bechin of a chasan being doim l'melech, and there's a question if that starts from the Ufruf or not. There are mekaras that might start from the ufruf. If it does, then for that, it might be mutter to stop before. But again, like I said, in Tishrei we don't matter, but the Yemei Omer, yes. There's a need, and what about a chasan who still shaves? Again, different. In Eretz Yisrael, they say there are those who don't shave as much, but a chasan who shaves every day, can he shave during the chasan during the Shivas Yemei Mishta? And some bring down the chasan doim melech b'yofi of techazan ha'necha. The Gemara says that the melech would shave kol yom v'yom, would cut a haircut, cut his hair, kol yom v'yom. As huadin, we allow a chasan. That's what many places say. We allow the chasan to go ahead if it's during the Shivas Yemei Mishnah, during the Sheva brachas, what we refer to them, the Shivas Yemei Mishnah, that he's allowed to go ahead and shave. Also because this mile of chasan de melech is a baal simcha, it's yom tev shaloihu, and we allow him to go ahead and shave. There's such a svara of Yom Tiv Shaloyu. It's a Yom Tiv. It has a mix of Shem Yom Tiv, the Legabov, and that we're going to allow him to do. Some say, they say B'Shem Chasam Sofer, he didn't allow the Chasan to, but like I said, the Dogma Vava, which is Rebbi Yehudah allows it, now they saw many places to allow it. The Chasam Sofer, I think, says it's only Yom Tiv Shaloy, it's not a Yom Tiv that everyone has. Okay, that's another noise, but I'll call upon him, like the Dogma Vava, Rebbi Yehudah allows it. What about a bar mitzvah? So there's two balei simcha. The av, we know that the av is also a baal simcha by the bar mitzvah, the aviha bar mitzvah, and also the bachar bar mitzvah. So many say, okay, so if he had to cut his hair, normally he's not shaving, but if he had to cut his hair, do it before. Why is it cutting? Now, do we allow cotton to go ahead and get a haircut during the Yemei HaOmer? So that's a noise. In Hilchos Tishus HaYomim, in the Ben HaMetzorim, it is a machloikis. How makbid with aveilus by cotton? Mishum tsar with makbid. So the Mishabur seems to be is noita that we don't allow cotton. Kachol minhag Yisrael, Ben HaMetzorim, a cotton doesn't get a haircut. So would we be makbid also Yemei HaOmer? So the minhag and roiv b'nei Yisrael is to be makbid, but for a bocha bar mitzvah that mishum the simcha we will allow. So better he should do as a cotton than as a gadol. Do it while it's a cotton, not a gadol. So therefore the poskim say there's a preference. If he didn't do it then, can he do it? So that's a shaila, but there are many poskim that are matter and who did to the avi haben. Now it's only going to be if it makes a difference. Now if a person who shaves, say the avi haben shaves, so it's nikra love that he's not shaving, so maybe it's nikra. Most people take a haircut, at least not for 4 or 5 weeks. Some even longer push off the haircut. The older we get, the less hair we have, so we less have a problem having to get the haircut as quick as possible. So you can go till at least, you say there are 7 weeks of the Yemei HaOmer might not be as easy, that it's nikra a little bit, that it's not mishum kavod, but the few weeks, as long as a person it was mistaper before Pesach, so then it shouldn't be a problem. So therefore that is less of a problem. That would be nogeya, the different baal simcha. I did see by Pidyon Ben that many said that we don't find by Pidyon Ben we're going to matter the baal simcha to go ahead and mistaper, because it is so we said baal bris yes, bacher bar mitzvah better while he's a cotton, but in the avia bar mitzvah, if it's necessary, yes, to go ahead and boy b'yoyim to do it. Agav, the baal bris can even cut the hair the evening beforehand, if they're making the bris first thing in the morning. If they're making it later on in the day in the morning, the poskim say it's better to do the mistaper, the baal bris in the morning. I know what did by the bacher bar mitzvah. Normally you don't make the simcha miyad, but you boy b'yoyim in the morning, crack of dawn. You make it a little later in the day, midday, end of the day. So then therefore, sometimes they make the simcha the night before. You make the night before in the chanami. So then you have to do it the day before, the evening beforehand, or the later part of the day beforehand. That would be for the bali simcha, for the bar mitzvah, and we talked about for chasan Shabbos Mishta, for chasan before the ufruf, that yes, many places are going to be matter. What about for ladies? Now, ladies with Parshas aveilus and noheg. To say that we don't have the aveilus, the Sefirah, during the kilo wasn't iskabel upon the minhag aveilus, the Sefirah, there is one side in one sefer, that our shalom, it's a very chashuv sefer that Mishabur constantly quotes. There is one side that the Nar Shalom holds that there is no aveilus of Yemei HaOmer for Noshim, and he really doesn't explain that. There's a halacha that's brought down in the end of Sefiras HaOmer, it's in the Tov Pei Tes, that it says that Noshim, that they weren't noheg to do malacha. Now, where is that? I'm sorry, I'm looking for it right now. Tov Tzadi Gimel. I'm sorry, Tov Tzadi Gimel, the end of the Yemei, the Hanhagas, the Yemei HaOmer, Nogu, Noshim Shalalasas, Malacha, Mepesach, Vadatzeres, Meshkias, Chama, Ve'elach. That minhag, says the Nar Shalom, is only on Noshim because the men, it's nikr the Yemei HaOmer to the aveilus, and the lady, they're not noheg aveilus, so they had noheg this Isra Asiyas Malacha. There are many biurim for that halacha that I don't know if we're going to get into now. Maybe another week we get into it, but that minhag, that he says because they aren't noheg the aveilus. So therefore you see from the Nar Shalom that they weren't noheg aveilus, and I saw that in Mesilas Moshe, as brought down by Shem Rav Moshe, that he did speak out to one of his grandkids that side, but in the Jewish Rav Moshe, you see, he was makbid. One thing that we are making for ladies, anytime that it goes into what's called mishum nivul, it's not nice for their husbands, or they are uncomfortable walking around without that, shaving their legs. sometimes plucking their eyebrows, their eyelashes. Those things were a lot more mekel for ladies because yesh b'zeh mishum nivul. Even in regular hilchos aveilus and avol, there are times that we're matter mishum nivul. So that the poskim normally are mekel. Anytime a lady is uncomfortable with the way she looks, if it's mishum yoifi for shetotzefes, looking prettier or not, but for mishum nivul, yes, and also for a kala, a kala, there's more mishum nivul, and for shidduchim, if she feels she needs to get a haircut of something of that nature, the poskim are mekel. Anytime the tzorich to bring lidei shidduchim and puruvu, the poskim are mekel. Be'etzem you should be mekel even by a bacher, and I saw that Rav Moshe, and so Moshe brings down, is he said be'etzem you should be mekel by a bacher, balahapech. From a bacher, it would be marach hisaron. Well, he's not being makbid on the HaOmer when he's going to be poigish, when he's going to meet a girl. So the hepech, it might have a negative effect to the shidduch. So Rav Moshe says most of the times for a man it's worse to do, while for a lady it's not as nick, but it's important for them to have the mistaper to cut their hair. So then Rav Moshe is yamater. Okay, I want to just talk about one dover here that's noheg, a little bit machshava in the inyanim of Sefiras HaOmer. I talked about last week a little bit, last week a little bit of machshava. I'd like to talk now also another thing, and this is to explain a shitas haran. There's a very difficult ran in Masechta Sukkah. The Rishonim deal with the kasha. They deal with a kasha that why is it that we aren't noheg to say the birka Shehecheyanu on Sefiras HaOmer. Minhagei, the Rishonim saw that was a minhag. It doesn't say beferish in a Gemara that we don't say Shehecheyanu on the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer, but the Rishonim saw that was a minhag. The baal is the one who's mayor. I think from the first Rishonim that we see that being mayor is the baal deals with this kasha. Why we don't make a Shehecheyanu? It's a mitzvah that's kabam mizman lizman. It comes once a year. Why don't we make a Shehecheyanu? And there's a kasha that they ask. So the Ran in Sukkah says, Shamati Oimrim. I heard that they say, since the halacha is, this is what the Ran says, that if you weren't sofer b'layla, you can't be sofer b'yoyim, the fikach were not mevarach the birka Shehecheyanu. V'lo tamuahu. It's very difficult to understand. Well, what's the kasher? What's the shaykhis? The two things. This is a mitzvah shesomer. It comes mizman lizman. It comes once a year. Emechanam is divided up into 49 days of counting, and you can't count day 1 up till day 2. You can't count day 2 up to day 3 because of the hefsek of the yomim in between. But why not make a Shehecheyanu? Why not make a Shehecheyanu in the beginning of the counting? And I saw it in the Chuvas Radvaz is very bothered in the Bir of the Ran in Chelik Dalid. Tshuva Reish Nun Vav, the Radvaz, is very bothered by this kasha. He has a very big arichas. I'm going to say a mahalach al pi drush. He has an arichas to divide it up. Is it one big mitzvah? Is it a chelkei mitzvah? Which the Acharonim all deal with. Is it one big mitzvah? You see there's one big mitzvah, or you see them as chalakim of a mitzvah, which you're not going with the mitzvah until you get to the end of the Sefirah. And that's how he goes and explains the Ran, totally on this noise. But I wanted to say I'll be Jewish a little bit. We find that the Gra in his Pirush Haggadah says a very, very interesting idea when he explains the kasha of Manishtama Halayla Zeh Mikol HaLeilos. There he explains that the kushas of the Ben to the Av is bigger. Why is Leil Pesach different than other leilos? Most leilos we are not mechuyev in mitzvahs. Roiv mitzvahs are b'yoyim. The Torah is mitzvah to do the mitzvah b'yoyim, not b'layla. That's roiv mitzvahs. The Leil Pesach, all the mitzvahs are b'layla. Mitzvah of achilas korban Pesach, and the mitzvah of matzah, the mitzvah of morah, that's all b'layla. So the emphasis on zeh v'zois. Why do we find that layla, which is normally a nekeva, is like a nekeva, which is normally a zois? This layla to zeh a zocher. The nekeva is less mechuyev mitzvah. They're not mechuyev mitzvah as malgrama. So the night is like that, and this layla is like a yom that you do the mitzvahs. So manishtana halayla hazeh mikol haleilos. Why is this laila bebechinas yoim, not laila? Why do we do the mitzvahs on this laila and acting like it's more of a yoim, not a laila? But you see from him that he says that mitzvahs, the ikr is b'yoim, not b'laila. But he does add on one thing. There are mitzvahs that start at night and continue in the day. That's fine. That we do by mitzvahs. But mitzvahs that are only b'laila, that we find Leil Pesach. So I want to done Sefiras HaOmer. Let's talk about this thing. Sefiras HaOmer. What is it? If you hold, if you didn't count at night, you can count during the day. So then it's definitely not only a mitzvah laila. It's a mitzvah that starts at night, but you can do it during the day also. And Bemis in the Rambam and Hilchos Tamidim Musafim, the end of close to the end of Perek Zayin, the Rambam explains the mitzvah there. The Rambam is moime in the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer and Akravas HaOmer. He's also put in the halachas of Sefiras HaOmer. And there the Rambam says the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer is maschil mitchilas hayoim, and therefore that's the laila. And the Rambam said, "Beferishim lo sofer b'laila, sofer b'yoyim." That's the Shitas of Rambam. Not like the Rans bring down, which comes from the Minhag. The Rambam says it's mitchilas hayoim. So the Sefirah b'laila is called tchilas hayoim. So in the Rambam, it's not a davar tamua Sefiras HaOmer, because that will resofer. And even the Gra, when he's mentioned this, he understands there are mitzvahs that start b'laila, but are mafshich into the yoim. That's fine. That doesn't make Sefiras HaOmer any different in any which way. So therefore, Lefi the shitas that you're sofer b'laila, you can be sofer b'yoim if you want sofer b'laila, then that's fine to have a Sefirah b'laila. But the Ran but we paskin that you are sofer b'laila and you can't be sofer b'yoim. So what type of mitzvah is this to do a b'laila? So I thought to myself, and that's why I think that the whole mitzvah is be'ikra hachana. The Rishonim bring down that Am Yisrael is preparing themselves. It's a medrash even that the Ram himself brings down. And we're preparing ourselves to get ready for the Kavod Torah, Matan Torah. So we have to go and hadraga to go to the Shavuos. So we're safer from Pesach to Shavuos to prepare ourselves for the Kavod Torah, to be yotza for the Memta Shari Tuma, to be able to makabel the Torah. So therefore, the whole mitzvah of Sefirah is not itself a mitzvah intrinsic to itself. It's to be almost to prepare. It's a mitzvah that in itself is a preparation for the Kabbalah Torah we're going to do on Shavuos. So therefore, I think to say like this, if so that's why it's b'laila not b'yoyim, because it's not in itself, in the mitzvah in itself. It's all hachana. Hachana is that b'laila we can do. So from the fact that you do the laila not b'yoyim, we see this is a mitzvah that's not like other mitzvahs. It's a be'ikra hachana for the Kabbalah Torah that we're going to have on Shavuos. If the whole mitzvah is only hachana for the Kabbalah Torah, it itself is not for itself. So what bracha we can make? Shehecheyanu, v'kimanu v'ganu l'zman hazeh. Shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'ganu l'zman hazeh is when we got to something now special. We say, Shehecheyanu, we got to this man. So we make a Shehecheyanu on special things, a new pri, a new baguette. And we make a Shehecheyanu on mitzvahs that came Zman. We came to Zman. But when the whole mitzvah is not for itself, the whole mitzvah is to prepare ourselves for something else. So where is the makom to make a Shehecheyanu, v'kimanu, v'giyanu l'zman hazeh? The ikr of this mitzvah is not for l'zman hazeh. The ikr of this mitzvah is to prepare us for another Zman. So on such a mitzvah, l'chor, it's not shy to have a mitzvah of Shehecheyanu. That's what I thought to say. I did see that the Rishonim do say, within this concept, a little bit different. There are Rishonim that seem to say that since the mitzvah to be sofer from Pesach to Shavuos, and to get us to the Zman of Shavuos, the Zman that we say on Shavuos, I mean the Shehecheyanu that we say on Shavuos, patters the Sefiras HaOmer, the Zman that we had to make on the whole Sefiras HaOmer. Because the whole Shehecheyanu that we make on Shavuos is koy also on the Sefiras HaOmer that was a chelik of preparing us for the Sefiras HaOmer. That's preparing us from the Sefiras HaOmer for Shavuos. So therefore, it can be one of two things: either the whole mitzvah Sefiras HaOmer is not shaykh to have a birkas hazman Shehecheyanu, or the Shehecheyanu we make on Shavuos will work for the Yemei Sefiras HaOmer. Okay, Adkan, this is what I want to say. May Sefiras HaOmer, Yemei HaOmer, Emet Hashem. Next week I will continue to discuss, to go back to the Parshas and talk about Nachamos Kedoshin and Emet Hashem, the Haftarah for the last 10 and so minutes. Everybody have a good Shabbos, and we should be zoicha, that we should come to the Sefiras HaOmer that will bring us to the proper Kabbalah Torah.